Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Heartbeats by Davidson King. Narrated by John Solo and Philip Alces. Chapter 1. Shane. I really appreciate you inviting me to come with you, Toby. I tugged on my lanyard and stared down at my name. VIP passes to DJ Con. Toby, my best friend, was supposed to go with his boyfriend, Atlas, but he had an emergency, so he invited me. Are you kidding? I don't think Atlas was really interested anyway. I know you love this stuff as much as I do, so it's going to be fun. Toby and I had known each other for a long time. We'd worked together at a shitty dive bar, Vic's Tricks, before both working at Joker's Sin. It was there that Toby fell in love with the owner, Atlas, and when I joined the club, working behind the bar, I'd never felt so good. Better pay, safer, and true friends. "Is Ledger here?" I asked, and from the smirk on Toby's face I could see I wasn't fooling him. "Of course he is. He got me and Atlas the tickets to begin with. He hasn't been to the con in a couple of years, not a fan of the panels, but he said if he had to do it this year, he wanted someone from Joker's Sin to come." Ledger was the DJ for Joker's Sin, and one of the best I'd ever seen or heard. It didn't hurt that he was hotter than any man I'd ever laid eyes on, and I knew he had an interest in me. I just wished he'd act on it, even though I was a grown adult and could probably just be like, "Hey, wanna, go out?" Something about his eyes was so intense they made me freeze in place, not terror, but total intimidation. It's noon now, so Ledger should be in Ballroom 2 for his panel. It starts in half an hour, and I promised we'd be there. Toby sped up, and I was able to follow easily. "You told him I was coming?" He stopped at the doors, just about to open them, when he turned. "No, and stop. You sound like a teenager all crushing. Be cool, and act like you should be there. Eager is a weird whatever on you." "Hey." I put my hand over his as he pulled the door open. "I don't get Ledger. You know I like him, and I think he likes me, but I don't know." Toby patted my shoulder. "Teenage girl, just be you, okay?" He didn't let me answer, and when we opened the door, a huge guy blocked it. "Panel doesn't start for another half hour. Lineup is there." He pointed toward a huge row of people. "No, sorry. Here." Toby held up his ID. "I'm Toby St. Clair, and this is Shane Reeves. We're here because DJ Edge asked us to be." Toby smiled, but the big man just narrowed his eyes. "Wait here. I'll have to ask DJ Edge." The door shut in our faces. "Rude," I said, and looked over at all the people staring us down. I never knew how many groupies DJs had. Toby chuckled. "Ciro once told me he gets more questions about Ledger than about Atlas as people wait to get inside the club." Ciro was head of security for Joker's Sin, and if I thought Ledger was intimidating, Ciro was scary. He was a man of few words, but I knew he had seen some shit, and I wouldn't be surprised if he'd killed someone. When the door opened, the big man was back. "Okay, you two can come in." Toby thanked him, and we walked inside. There were easily 200 or 300 chairs set up, and people were still setting up more. The panel featured 5 DJs from all over the country, and Ledger was one of them. "Where's Atlas?" Ledger asked by way of greeting, and I cursed myself forever thinking he possibly liked me in that way. "Working, Ledger, so Shane came to help. Thank you works in response." I felt Toby's glare, and it was a funny thing. He'd never been one to stand up for himself. One thing Atlas gave Toby was self-worth. He made Toby ignite the embers that lingered in his soul, and I'd always be grateful to Atlas for loving my best friend that much. "Sorry, just nervous. Hey, man." Ledger gave me a curt nod. "Hey, you'll be fine. At least there are 4 others up there with you, right?" He shrugged and went backstage. "Do we follow?" I asked Toby, and he nodded. There were quite a few people there, 4 other DJs and whomever they had brought as their assistants, and honestly, I had no idea who anyone was. Toby wasn't wrong. I loved going to cons, but I'd never really known any DJs other than Ledger, and to see how huge the scene was made me realize that maybe I should. "Okay, if you can all gather, I want to go over everything." A small woman with blonde hair, ample cleavage, and a red shiny jumpsuit said. "Who's that?" I whispered to Toby, who shrugged. I'm Sylvia Vera, and I'll be the moderator for your panel. That answered my question. I will go out onto the stage first, introduce myself, say a few things none of you care about, then I will introduce each of you, and upon hearing your name, you'll come out. I'll announce what you are all doing these days, yada yada, and ask questions. She gestured to some papers on a small table by a couch. You all saw the questions I'll be asking. After that, I'll open the floor for questions from the audience. Sound good? Are there ways to avoid certain questions? A woman with light purple hair spoke up. If you're referring to a certain tryst with an A-list celebrity, Trinity, then no. I won't ask, but if a guest does, well, you answer it however you want. Sylvia's smile was more of a sneer. There was clearly no love between her and Trinity. So if I tell them to fuck off, that's cool? Trinity stood and took a couple of steps toward Sylvia. My eyes darted over to Ledger, who was sitting on the couch rolling his eyes. Toby was watching excitedly, so I went over to Ledger. Trinity is a DJ too? I questioned as I sat next to him. Mm-hmm. She's also a drama queen and slept with Sylvia's husband 2 years ago. Hence, this. He waved in the direction of the two women. Ah, wow, who knew the DJ life was so dramatic? Ledger looked over at me, a small smile playing on his lips. Stick around. The panel is sure to entertain. Once again, I was struck speechless by his gaze, blue eyes with flecks of gold. The man was stunning, and when he licked his lips, I wanted to taste the trail his tongue made. You all have 10 minutes. Sylvia snapped and stormed out of the room. Ledger stood, and the moment we had was severed. We can stand off to the side of the stage during it all, or would you rather sit in the front row? Toby asked after the DJs were all summoned by some con instructor. What would I do in the wings? We stared at each other for a moment, and laughed. Good point. We can take the front row. Toby and I told Ledger where we'd be, and he nodded and went back to talking to Trinity, who had her long nails sliding up his arm. She's a viper, Toby said when we took our seats. Who? Trinity. You know, the woman you were trying to blow up with your mind just now? Oh, was I that obvious? I hoped I didn't come off as a crazy, obsessed person to Ledger. I just know you is all, but I wouldn't worry about Trinity. Even Ledger wouldn't sleep with that. What do you mean, even Ledger? I knew he was single and all, but I didn't think he slept around. Ledger enjoys sex, Shane. I'm just saying. Atlas said he's picky, though, and won't sleep with just anyone who touches him. I knew that should have eased my mind, but it didn't. Doors opening, someone shouted, and Toby and I turned and watched as the ballroom began to fill, and I looked around. There were 3 microphones set up in the aisles for when people wanted to ask questions. There was reserved seating for some, mostly friends and associates of the DJs, and wow, were we hated by people who seemed to think sitting here was like dating one of them. Are we supposed to ask questions? Toby shook his head. No. As a matter of fact, I have a text from Ledger that says if we ask any questions, he'll play sex noises at the club when he gets back and tell people it's me and Atlas role-playing as Teletubbies. A loud laugh escaped me, and a few people close to us turned our way. It was so noisy I was shocked anyone heard me. That's hilarious. It took almost half an hour to get everyone in, seated, and settled. The stage was set with a long table for the DJs, their name tags, bottles of water, and microphones. There was a podium on the other end where I assumed Sylvia would be moderating. I scanned the room, realizing people were wearing shirts and hats with the DJs' names on them. Oh my God, we need to get DJ Edge merchandise before we leave and all wear it one day for work? Toby laughed. We are so doing that, no question. Good afternoon, everyone. Sylvia walked onto the stage. I'm Sylvia Vera of the talk show Sweet Talking with Sylvia. I'd never heard of the show, and judging by the silence in the room, I didn't think I was the only one. I'll be the ringmaster of the circus today, and what a show we have in store for you. Great panel, so I hope you all have your questions ready. Let's get started. She went over to the podium and introduced all the DJs, Ledger, of course, and Trinity. I found out the other 3 were DJ Scratch, Max 3000, and Ziggy J. Hearing their accomplishments made me realize how big Ledger really was. As I watched them all settle in, Ledger appeared cool, calm, and collected as he sat back, but his constant swallowing belied his calm persona. For the first 20 minutes or so, Sylvia asked a bunch of benign questions to all the DJs. It seemed to relax them, and the room was loving the answers. While some got into a lot of detail, Ledger kept his more exact and didn't exaggerate anything. I was glad Trinity was at the end of the table, away from Ledger, but every time he said something, she felt the need to comment. Was it rational to hope a stage light fell on her? "He's doing good," Toby whispered in my ear. "Yeah, but it'll be interesting to see what the audience asks. I don't think they'll be asking what kind of toothpaste they use." Toby shrugged. "Fans are weird. Atlas once had someone come in with long braids and wearing a suit Atlas had. Said he wanted to be just like him. Fans sometimes do things that are creepy." I suppose he was right. I was about to say something when Sylvia spoke. "And now it's time for some audience questions. Please, one person at each mic at a time. After you've asked your question, you can stay until it's answered in case one of the DJs needs clarification. Then, please take your seat so someone else can have their chance. I will call on you when it's your turn. I do have to warn you, a DJ can refuse your question." There were people working the con on all sides, and they instructed 3 people to head up to the microphones. As eager as I was to hear what they'd ask, I was nervous for Ledger. It had to be scary not knowing what someone would ask you. "The lady with the purple shirt, go ahead. You're first." I took a deep breath and listened.
Chapter 2. Ledger. While the lady in the purple shirt asked Max 3000 a question, my gaze moved over to where Toby and Shane sat in the front row. Toby was smiling as he listened to the answer Max 3000 was giving, but I could tell Shane wasn't listening. His eyes were looking all over the room. Every few seconds they locked with mine, and the blush that covered his cheeks gave me butterflies. I chuckled at the thought. I'd never felt butterflies when it came to anyone else. From the second I saw him walk into Joker's Sin a little over a year ago, there was just something about him. His red hair and gray eyes, how it always seemed like he was dissecting me, figuring me out, when the whole time I was doing the same thing. Too many times I wanted to grab his face and kiss him until he blushed from head to toe, then spend the night finding all the places he turned rosy. "This question is for DJ Edge," a small voice spoke from the microphone. I jolted back to reality and gave the fan my full attention. "What can I answer for you?" I smiled at the guy with the curly brown hair. He had glasses that were too large for his face. He was tall and lanky and had a notebook he was hugging to his chest. "I have a few questions, but I guess I can only ask one at this time, so I suppose I will choose to ask you about equipment." "Oh, okay." That shocked me. Most people asked about songs, significant others, style. No one ever really showed interest in equipment, aside from vendors trying to sell me new pieces that were, in their words, top of the line. "So, I was wondering, if someone were starting out as a DJ, what equipment would you recommend they buy?" The guy's nose wrinkled and he pushed his glasses up. He seemed awkward and uncomfortable, and people were chuckling at his question. Sure, he might not seem like a DJ, but being a DJ didn't mean you had to look like The Rock. "Great question. What's your name?" I gave him another smile, glad when my praise made the chuckling stop. "My name? Oh, it's Charles." "Well, Charles, being a DJ can be costly, so you want to be sure it's for you. I'd recommend a starter kit of sorts. You can get a decent one online for $100. If you want to push a little higher, go with maybe the Hercules DJ starter kit." Charles nodded his head, turned, and returned to his seat. He didn't say thank you or anything, and he gave no indication as to whether my question was helpful. "Okay, then next," Sylvia said, and I looked over to Toby and Shane. Shane was watching Charles as the guy sat a few rows behind him. Toby shrugged at me like the whole thing was odd. The panel went on, and I answered the typical questions. They wanted to know my favorite band, song, album, and artist. I was asked about a girlfriend and a boyfriend. It was never-ending. All the other DJs were asked the same questions, and it made the panel seem more like a speed dating event than anything. When it was over, we all stood, waved at the fans, and walked off stage to the back room. My whole body tenses up when I hear someone say they got a question for me. You feel me? Ziggy J asked me. I always liked him with his silver-sprayed hair, outlandish glasses, and how he must rub gold flecks over his light brown skin. He was real, too. He was probably the only DJ at this thing I would call a friend. Same. Sometimes I think we should answer questions and hand out the answers before these things, so people could read them and not ask us the same shit. I handed Ziggy a bottled water from the ice bucket and grabbed another for myself. Thanks, man. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. He guzzled the water, and I did the same. I'm going to talk to my assistant about that. I smiled and turned when I heard my name. Ledger, you did great! Toby patted me on the shoulder. Thanks. I looked over at Shane, who was eyeing the room and the people in it. What did you think, Shane? Me? I loved how his voice jumped as if he were shocked I'd asked him. It was dorky and cute. It was, well, intrusive? Ziggy, who was standing beside me, laughed. You got that right. I'm shocked they can ask those things. I mean, it's rude. Shane appeared genuinely upset. I'd tell someone to fuck off if they asked me if I preferred briefs or boxers. The glamorous life of fandom, Ziggy exclaimed with a chuckle. Talk to you all later. I'm going to my hotel room, taking a shower, and napping before the dinner tonight. Dinner? Shane asked as Ziggy left. Yeah, we have a dinner. No fans, just DJs and their assistants and such. Tomorrow is the signing, and then I'm done. I watched every reaction on Shane's face. I couldn't figure out what he was thinking. Well, I gotta leave after the dinner, Toby announced, and both Shane and I shot him a look. What? You said you were gonna be here to support me and shit. Toby rolled his fucking eyes at me. I said you'd have Joker's sin support, and... He waved over at Shane. He's gonna be there for you tomorrow at your signing table. I am? He is? Yep. Now can we get out of here, please? I have to call Atlas, and that Trinity chick is staring you up like your Christmas dinner. Toby gave Trinity a wave, which she returned. What, Shane didn't finish, just took a breath. I also found that cute. What was wrong with me? See you all later, I said as I left the room with Shane and Toby. Security was really good at helping us get out of there and to the car. I wasn't staying far away, and though they had the convention at a hotel, I didn't want to stay at the same place as the con. I wanted to be away from it all so I could rest. Toby and Shane got a separate room a floor below mine. Dinner's at 7, so want to meet in the lobby at like 6:30? I asked. That works. It only takes 5 minutes to get back to the other hotel, Toby answered, as he stepped off the elevator and onto his floor. Shane followed silently. See you then. When the door closed, I rested my head against the elevator wall. My body ached, and I wanted to close my eyes for a little bit. I opened the door to my room, tossed my shoes, and face-planted onto the bed. It wasn't long before I was drifting off, my head full of red hair, gray eyes, and shy smiles. The ballroom at the hotel where the dinner was held was like any other. Chandeliers dripped with crystal. There were floral carpets and large round tables with extravagant flowers and fine china. I was glad Toby and Shane were there so I could use them as a buffer. As weird as it sounded, I wasn't a huge people person. In my DJ booth, it was me and the music. On special nights, I interacted with Atlas on the stage, but the booth always gave me a sort of protection, a separation from groping hands and unwanted closeness. Are you going to the con in California this year, Ledger? Trinity, who was placed at our table, asked. No, I only came to this one because it wasn't too far from Joker's Sin, and I only had to take a couple of days off work. Trinity flipped her lavender hair off her shoulder and folded her hands on the table. Her cleavage was not to be ignored. Why do you work in a nightclub exclusively? Your talent is unique, and you should be traveling. I felt Toby sit up straighter, readying himself to speak, and I jumped in quickly. I'm not a traveler. I like having one place that's familiar. I did my time traveling, and now you're settling, she said. Have you ever been to Joker's Sin? Shane asked before I had a chance to respond. No, she scoffed. Unlike Ledger here, I like to hop around. I asked if you'd ever been to Joker's Sin, not about your bed hopping. An angry Shane was hot. His gray eyes blazed, his skin flushed a gorgeous red, and when I saw his fist clench his napkin, I wished it were my bed sheets. Why, you little... Trinity started to say, but I diffused the situation. You're insulting where we work, Trin. He's being loyal and protective. Maybe don't push and you won't get it in return. I wasn't talking to him. Why would I? She sneered. I was talking to you. Why don't you join me in Miami next month? It's not a con, but it is a festival. Chill and calm. Remember when you would do those? You always said they were your favorite. She wasn't wrong, but if I were going to go to a festival, it wouldn't be with her. I'm not sure that's possible, but I'll look into it. I ended it there, happy when the servers placed our salads in front of us. I could feel the heat radiating off Shane, and my skin tickled with an overwhelming urge to comfort him and get him to relax. Sorry, Shane whispered to me while everyone else was busy in conversation. Don't be. You had every right to defend jokers. I don't like her. I laughed, not because I was surprised he didn't like her, that was obvious, but because he genuinely pouted when he said it. I know. She makes it hard to like her at all. I looked over at Trinity, who was sipping some fruity drink and talking to who I assumed was her assistant. She wasn't always like this, but fame got to her head and never left. You're not like that. Shane placed his fork down, eyes on me. Fuck, I wanted to kiss him. No, I'm not. Never been keen on the fame part of it all. I love what I do, not the crazy it brings. He nodded. Then why do this con? Because it draws attention to Joker's Sin, and that helps the club, and for the club I'd do anything. He smiled like my answer was the best thing ever, and I felt like I'd won the lottery. The rest of dinner was uneventful. We ate, and there were a few speeches thanking us and explaining what tomorrow would bring. Knowing Shane would be there didn't make me nervous. I was excited. Maybe I could get to know him a little better. Playing this push-and-pull game with him was getting old. I wanted to know things about him. Maybe he'd say something unappealing, and I'd stop wanting to fuck him on every sturdy surface. As we were walking along to the lobby, Trinity stopped us. Ledger, a few of us are going to sit at the bar and shoot the shit like old times. Maybe you'd like to join us? She looked over at Shane, and I saw her deflate. I'm sorry about what I said before. I'm sure Joker's Sin is wonderful, and I'll be sure to visit. Shane didn't say anything, just nodded. So just for a little bit? She asked me, and I wanted to say no. I really did, but I also missed talking shop with everyone. Yeah, okay, for a little while. Great, see you over there. Trinity bounced away, and I turned to Toby and Shane. The disappointment on Shane's face nearly had me saying fuck it and going to my room. But Toby spoke up. Go work. Shane and I are going to our hotel. I have to get my suitcase and head home anyway. Shane will meet you in the morning right here, yeah? He looked over to Shane. Of course, yeah. Have fun. He turned his back to me. I wanted to say something, but Toby told me to go, so with one last look at Shane's ass, I left to hang with the others.
Chapter 3. Shane. You got it bad. Toby had waited until we arrived at our hotel and were in the elevator to speak up. Shut up. He's just hanging out with them. Relax. We stood in silence for a few floors until I couldn't hold it in anymore. She's like an octopus, all clinging to him, and her boobs practically slapped on the table at dinner. Tell me you saw that. The doors opened to our floor, and we stepped out. You sound all jealous. It's funny because I've never seen this side of you. Toby slipped the key card in, and we went inside. I know. He owes me nothing, and I fell onto the bed. Maybe I should just ask him out. Toby grabbed his small duffel and started tossing his clothes in. Maybe a good idea. But Atlas doesn't really like in-house shenanigans. I rolled on my side, resting my head in my hand. Well, he'd be hypocritical if he didn't allow it. And do you plan on shenanigans? He zipped his bag and... Hang on a sec. I hopped off the bed. You are full of shit, Toby St. Clair. I poked his chest. Huh? He appeared genuinely surprised. You don't have to go back to work. You told me so. His eyes widened and he hurried around me, duffel in hand. Atlas texted me. Liar! Poppy's wheelchair is malfunctioning and she needs me. Nice try. She has her boyfriend for help. Toby released a sigh and sat down. Fine. You're right. I'm doing this on purpose. I sat in front of him on the table across from the small chair. Why? To give you and Ledger some time. You two skirt around each other constantly. You're never alone. There's always someone there. I know he likes you and you like him. Maybe you need time to get to know him. The signing tomorrow and the drive to Haven Hart will be perfect. Toby, I sighed. I do like Ledger. A lot. And I think he likes me too, but I'm not sure we have much in common. And from the look in Trinity's eyes tonight, he may be occupied with her into the morning. Toby shook his head and stood up. I'm telling you, she's not his type. Max spent over an hour once while I was helping him organize the bar, telling me the sort of people Ledger went home with from clubs and bars. None of them were like Trinity. When he moved toward the door, I ran to stop him. Wait! What? What kind of people did he go home with? He opened the door, but before he left, he answered me. People like you, Shane. I didn't know what that meant. Redheads? I was about to shout my question down the hallway when a door opened and someone walked out. I slipped back into my room and pondered what Toby said. I thought on it the whole time I showered and long into the night, until sleep finally claimed me. I ended up in the lobby earlier than Ledger and I agreed upon, but I woke up after a particularly hot dream, so I showered, dressed for the day, and grabbed a shuttle to the hotel the con was at. I figured I'd go to the cafe in the hotel and get some coffee and maybe a muffin. I could see the front door from where I sat, so I figured when he came, I'd pretend I didn't see him. Toby's right, I'm acting stupid. I just sipped my coffee when the elevator doors opened, and he and Trinity came out, together. Knowing he didn't have a room here meant he either stayed or got up insanely early and came over here. I welcomed the burn as I swallowed the scalding liquid. She had her arm entwined with his, and they were laughing. Maybe Toby wasn't right after all. I got up, coffee in hand, and walked over to them. Morning, he said with a smile. Good morning. Sleep well? I glared at Trinity, who fucking gloated. It was okay. Prefer my own bed, though. Or a bed at all, honestly. The couch in Ziggy's room wasn't comfortable. Right? There's no place like home. And a bed. Trinity laughed. Ledger laughed. I did not laugh. Well, let's do this signing, and you can both get back to bed or couch or whatever, right? Okay, and moving on. I turned on my heel and walked toward the ballroom the signing was at. Shane? Ledger called. What? Busy, busy, let's move. We have 2 hours. I was hoping we could have breakfast first. I halted and turned around. Unfortunately, Trinity was still there, and I realized what he said. Oh, yeah, of course. Go ahead. I'll see if I can get info on where you'll be sitting. Bon appetit. I didn't wait to watch them happily stroll to breakfast. I was so stupid to think I was anything like what he wanted. I smacked my forehead as I walked. Ouch. I looked up to see DJ Ziggy J leaning against a pillar by the ballroom. You okay? Me? I'm cool. You? Not so cool. He tipped his chin in the direction I came from. Trini and Ledge? There's nothing there. He stayed in my room last night. You should just tell the guy you like him. He talked a lot about you last night. Damn, thought you two were a thing for a time till he said, nah. Me? No, you must be not wrong. So look, I'm going to help you out. Let's go to breakfast and I can pretend to be shocked to see them and sit and eat, yeah? Ziggy J was a gorgeous man. He shimmered all over and his clothes were insanely flashy. He was being kind to me, and I was hungry since I'd left my muffin in the coffee shop. Yeah, okay. Great. Come on now, Strawberry. He held out his arm. I chuckled.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?